G'day and welcome to ReDriven. Now, the Isuzu D-Max has quickly become one of the most requested vehicles on all of ReDriven. And if you listen to the fans of the D-Max, this thing is one of the most underrated 4x4 dual cab utes, pickups or bakkies on the used market. But if you listen to any of the fans of the other manufacturers' dual cab utes out there, they'll tell you that the D-Max is just a piece of crap and you shouldn't buy one at all, and you should only buy one of their chosen steeds. So, who do you believe? Do you listen to the Isuzu fans and buy one of these because apparently they're awesome, or do you listen to the fans of all the other manufacturers and buy one of their utes instead? So, let's sort this out once and for all. Are used D-Maxes actually any good? You know, what goes wrong with them? What do they like to live with on a daily basis? What do they cost to own and operate? But most importantly, should you buy one? Let's find out. Now, before we get deep into this video, I should mention that in this video, we're going to be focusing on the Australian variants of the RT D-Max. But if you're not watching this from Australia, don't freak out or panic, because everything we're going to be going over should relate to D-Maxes and certain Colorado features in your local market. Why the Colorado, I hear you ask? Well, see, the thing is, the D-Max and the Holden or Chevrolet Colorado, they share the exact same architecture. The interiors are pretty much exactly the same as well. They're completely different body panels, different engines and transmissions, but yeah, there's a few things that mesh together. Also, to keep this video as objective as we possibly could, we've reached out to multiple Isuzu and D-Max owners groups. We've trawled through forums, we've trawled through customer satisfaction surveys, reliability reports. We've spoken to 4x4 specialist mechanics and technicians, 4x4 accessory stores. We've even spoken to Isuzu technicians and mechanics and Isuzu parts suppliers. So this video is basically, it's the culmination of all of that and their information. But in saying all of that, we have noticed that out of all the automotive genres out there, it's the fans of 4x4 dual cab utes and kind of 4x4s in general that tend to be the most biased, opinionated and outspoken when it comes to anyone criticizing their precious vehicle. Guys, we know you're sensitive. We know that you have a bit of a tantrum like a toddler if someone says anything bad about your four-wheel drive, but please no, don't take it personally. It's totally okay to like a shit car. If we say something that you don't like hearing about your particular four-wheel drive, it's okay, we're not attacking you, just calm down. Just please be nice in the comments. Okay, so this generation of D-Max landed on Aussie shores way back in 2012, and it only kind of wrapped up pretty recently with the new D-Max being on the market. Being a 4x4 dual cab ute, it has been available in a confusing and bewildering array of different body styles, trim levels, updates. It's incredibly confusing, but to make sense of all that, here's me doing a voiceover over some B-roll. Let's start with the body styles. The D-Max was originally offered in three: a single cab, space cab, and crew cab. Then each of these have been available across a variety of different trim levels, starting with the base spec EX, working its way through the SX, the LSM, the LSU, and topping out with the LST, with some of these also being available in high ride spec. However, over the life cycle, there was also a smattering of other limited and special edition models like the X-Rider and the X-Runner. And don't forget the X-Girlfriend. Sorry. Engine-wise, all D-Max have been equipped with an Isuzu power plant borrowed from its truck range, and one noted for its longevity and ease of service rather than its outright power, thanks to a conservative state of tune, the 3-litre turbo diesel 4JJ1 TC. Transmission-wise, and depending on the trim and spec, you'll have the choice of either a 5 or 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic, and again depending on the spec, powering either just the rear wheels or all 4 wheels via a dual-range gearbox. And then you have all of the mid-cycle updates. The D-Max received light updates throughout its entire life cycle, but the most substantial occurred in 2017, featuring a complete cosmetic refresh, including redesigned headlights, including LED daytime running lights, and new alloy wheel designs. The interior was revised with some subtle design changes and improvements to the materials used, while the levels of tech also received an update. Mechanically, 2017 brought with it the most substantial changes, with the major news being an update to a new Euro 5 compliant engine, which enhanced torque marginally, and although the D-Max now felt more sprightly, that is more likely to do with the gearbox revisions rather than the engine itself. The D-Max finally caught up to its rivals with the introduction of a 6-speed automatic and manual transmissions. Other mechanical changes included the introduction of a diesel particulate diffuser and a new variable vane turbo. However, we'll delve into all of the pros and cons of these and mechanically what goes wrong with them a little bit later in the video. And look, obviously we love to go into every specific detail of variant and upgrade in this video, but it would take hours, it would get so boring. But the thing is, we have gathered all of that information and we've put it in our incredibly handy and totally free ReDriven cheat sheets. Our cheat sheets are invaluable as they provide a full breakdown of the car's model range, its common problems, what you need to look out for before handing over your hard-earned cash, how much of that cash you should be handing over, and so much more. Check it out at ReDriven.com or in the link below. Now guys, if you already own a D-Max or you're like a kind of a D-Max expert and you've noticed in this video that we've missed something major, can you please let us know in the comments? We're going to do our best to cover as much as we can, but yeah, if we miss something, please let us know in the comments. So, how's the exterior? Well look, from a design aspect, personally, the D-Max has always been one of my preferred 4x4 dual cab utes. I like the fact that it's, kind of aggressive without being too swoopy. I especially like the post 2017 update versions and in the higher trim specs and with, some nice aftermarket accessories fitted. But look, I think it's a good looking thing. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Now look, we're going to get into the, the common faults and problems that these things have a little bit later in the video. But if you are looking at buying one of these, there's a few things you need to check before you hand over your hard-earned cash. So when you first see the ute and have a look at it, just make sure that all the paint matches both in color and the texture between all the panels. Just check if it hasn't been resprayed badly. Check all the panel gaps, they should all align correctly. Any accessories, they should all be fitted correctly and not too shaky. It is a work ute and these do go off-road a fair bit, so you can expect a few little scratches and dings and dents, that's fine. How many dings and scratches and dents you're willing to deal with is up to you. But if it has got a few scratches and dings and dents, it might give you a bit more bargaining power when it comes to negotiate the price. Actually, speaking of aftermarket accessories, if the D-Max you're looking at is fitted with aftermarket accessories, especially like light bars or anything that moves, make sure A, that they're quality items, B, that they've been fitted correctly, and C, that they actually work. You'd be amazed how many people buy something like this with, has a light bar or even a winch, but they don't test to see if it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, test everything, make sure it's all good stuff. Okay, next up, look, these things, they are quite capable off-road, so it's really, really important to make sure it hasn't been abused off-road. So you want to try and get as underneath the D-Max as you possibly can and look for any signs of off-roading abuse, like big gouges, any huge scratches, anything like that. Again, a few minor scratches and scrapes is totally fine, but yeah, if there's any big chunks taken out of underneath one of these things, or you see any mechanical damage, not good, guys. Also, look for any signs of fresh paint. You'd be amazed how many people try to, paint over damage to cover it up. So yeah, any really fresh paint, ask the owner why. It shouldn't really have any under there anyway. Then have a look at how clean it is under there. Look for any signs of sand or dried mud or even wet mud under there. If it hasn't been cleaned properly, what does that tell you about the owner? You've got to be careful of this, because if it does leave wet mud or there's any signs of dry mud under there, that can eventually lead to corrosion. And any sand from like a beach or a sand dune run, like sand can just be horrible for the mechanicals of these things, for any 4x4 dual cab ute. And again, look, I know we're harping on about the aftermarket accessories here, but if they are fitted with aftermarket accessories like, say, a lift kit or aftermarket bash plates, are they quality items? Have they been fitted correctly? Have they been maintained? Are they in good condition? Also on the topic of mods, the suspension experts that we spoke to informed us that the maximum safe lift that you can give one of these things is 2 inches. If you really want a 3-inch lift out of one of these, you're going to be bitterly disappointed, because if you do that, it's going to ride and drive horribly, it's going to bounce around like a pogo stick, and it can result in CV joint damage. Now in terms of wheels and tyre packages, look, 33s on these, they do look awesome and they're going to do amazing things for your levels of masculinity, but realistically, anything bigger than a 32 is going to make this thing slower than a wet week. It's going to be horrible for your brakes, because these brakes were never designed for that level of wheel mass, and they can result in even more mechanical problems like CV joint failure. So if you really want to deal with all that, you're cool with 33s on it, you've just got more money than sense. Also on the subject of tyres, look at the wear pattern on the actual tyre. If the wear pattern's like all over the place, the best case scenario is it just needs a wheel alignment, but worst case scenario, it could mean damaged suspension components or just a dodgy lift kit. Now guys, we're going to be going over all of the common faults and failures on these and mechanical issues a little bit later in the video. Okay, so how's the interior? Well look, the design and the materials used, they're going to vary depending on the year and the trim spec, but in this one, it's pretty basic. Personally, from a design point of view, I still feel like the Amarok has the best interior. Before you start yelling at me in the comments going, "Oh, you're joking, the Ranger has the best interior." Guys, it's design. It's purely subjective for me. I just think the Amarok has the better interior. But in saying that, I like how just kind of rugged this is. Like, it's not pretending to be a luxurious ute. It's just a ute. Like, there's no squidge. Like, everything's hard plastics, but as it should be. It's a working ute. Okay, in terms of ergonomics, look, it's kind of comfortable. There are quite a few complaints that these seats are uncomfortable. I've had this thing for a little while now, and I find the seats perfectly comfortable. Seating position, I wish this had some telescopic adjustment. It doesn't, I don't think. Let me just double check. Up and down. No, it doesn't go forward and back. So yeah, it'd be nice to have the steering wheel back a little bit more. One thing that is really beginning to bug me, where my knee goes, it bangs up against this hard plastic edge here. So I'm just constantly finding I'm like almost bruising my knee from that, but that's my particular body type. If you're shaped like me, you might have the problem. If you're not, you probably won't. Also with ergonomics, this one hasn't bothered me, but again, we read plenty of reports where it does. Some people's elbows, because this is pretty hard, your elbow sits on there and it can get a bit, grating on your elbow, so plenty of people complain about that as well. Now, as far as wear and tear goes, it's not too bad. This is this owner's everyday vehicle. The steering wheel, it hasn't got that many Ks on it. It's not that old, but it's already kind of wearing away. It's actually kind of biodegrading a little bit, and it's super, super shiny. All the hard plastics are, pretty good. Some of the paint around here is starting to chip off a little bit, discolor up here. You may have noticed the glove box here is a bit askew. That's not so much the glove box fault. The owner of this actually has like some cables sticking out normally, so the glove box has gone a bit wonky. But besides that, wear and tear wise, seats pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, now in the back seat, I'm exactly 6.3 novelty pink flamingos tall. This is in my driving position, and you know what? It's actually not too bad. There's a stack of knee room. My feet are a little bit cramped under the seat there, and even this actual seating position, you're not too kind of upright. It's not too bad. It's a little bit relaxed. I don't know if I'd want to be back here for hours, but no, it's comfy enough for a ute. As far as wear and tear goes, again, look, this is this guy's everyday car, and you'd never tell back here. This does get used, but the wear and tear is excellent. The seats feel fantastic. There is a bit of scratching on the door cards here, and everything's hard and scratchy as you'd expect. There's not a lot of squidge, but it's good. It's a ute. It's good. How's the tech? Well, again, like the interior, the levels of tech are going to vary depending on the year and the trim and the spec and all those sorts of things. But for an overview of what tech you can expect in a D-Max, here's me doing another voiceover. The absolute bare minimum of tech features on the D-Max include a 2-speaker stereo, air conditioning, Bluetooth connectivity, a CD player, and remote central locking. While higher spec and more recent models may include a 7 or 8-inch touchscreen with satellite navigation, an 8-speaker sound system, 3 USB outlets, a reversing camera, and keyless entry. I should mention that this particular infotainment system, it kind of sucks. It's a nightmare to actually pair your phone to on the first try. It's not intuitive. Like, yes, you get used to how it works, but it's not initially intuitive, and it can just be a little bit slow to react to things, so bit average. But unfortunately, the D-Max lacks Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and really any real functionality beyond just basic Bluetooth tethering and native mapping. In saying that, fitting an aftermarket unit that does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and more modern phone connectivity is a breeze with fitting an aftermarket system. But for an overview of what D-Max gets which levels of tech, just jump on ReDriven.com and check out that cheat sheet, or click on the link in the description below. So, is it practical? Well, look, it's a ute. It's designed to be practical, so yes, it's practical on the back. Plus, with this particular model, you get 4 cup holders and 17 cabanossi holders. Excellent. Practicality in the second row, you have a very thin armrest here. You've got 2 cup holders down here, which is very cool. You've got 2 ReDriven Isuzu D-Max script holders behind the driver's seat and behind the passenger seat. You've got little compartments for your secrets up here, and down here, you've got okay sized door bins, but the good thing is you can actually get your water bottle out even when the door's closed. You don't have to dislocate your shoulder or your L-arm or break your wrist to even get to the water bottle. Quite good. And practicality up front, you've got a spot for your sunglasses just up here. You've got a spot up here for an Oki strap or a remote wrapped in cling wrap. I don't know why you need a remote in a car. Should mention also, plenty of reports that this sometimes doesn't open. We're fine with this particular car. Good little storage compartment up here with a spot to charge your phone. Pretty good sized glove box there. Yep, close. There is a spot for your phone, sort of, kind of there, but not really. But there is a good spot for your phone just there, which is excellent. You've got 2 cup holders here, good size storage bin there. You've got good size bins in the doors. You've got a spot for life's filth up there. You've got a little pull down drawer here, which is pretty handy. And cool slidey cup holder here, and cool slidey cup holder here. And also under the steering column, you have another spot for your collection of CDs. Let's see what this owner listens to. Okay, Richard Clapton, that's not too bad. Your Central Country. Disappointing. It's nearly as bad as being a smoker. Besides that, I think that's it for practicality up the front. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, what commonly goes wrong with these things? Well, look, we're going to be covering the mechanical stuff in a sec, but let's start with the exterior. Okay, so first up, there are quite a few reports of the inner front guard cracking just above the wheels here. It depends on who you talk to of what the culprit is here. Some people say it's just, badly fitted mods, others say it's a blatant design fault. Whatever the problem is with it cracking, it does require the engine coming out to repair it, and I'll let you do the maths on what that costs, but it's not a 5-minute job. Next up, some of the people out there that enjoy more hardcore off-roading complain that the underbody protection in these standard are a bit flimsy and highly recommend fitting aftermarket equipment. Next up, the standard side steps are a bit vulnerable when it comes to ramp over angles, and plastic and aluminium are not fun for roadside repairs. If you want to do any really serious off-roading, put some aftermarket proper rock sliders on. Look, in terms of other common exterior issues, most of the problems that we could find were due to off-road abuse, bad aftermarket accessories, being driven with zero mechanical sympathy. But besides that, exterior-wise, they're pretty tough in standard form when they've been looked after. But in terms of the interior, there are a few reports that the air conditioning evaporator or just air conditioning parts in general can fail. The big problem with that is to get to them to repair them requires taking the entire dashboard of the car out, which will get expensive. The positive side is it's a revised part that was breaking, so once the revised part has been fitted, you shouldn't have a problem in the future. There are also a few reports that the infotainment systems can get really, really glitchy and can completely fail. It's generally down to a blown fuse due to a shortened circuit, but the good news with that is it's a great excuse to replace that piece of shit system in the first place. Now, before we get into mechanically what can go wrong with these things, I'm going to ask a favor. Can you hit those like, subscribe and bell buttons if you're enjoying this video? And if you're enjoying ReDriven, can you share ReDriven content as much as you can? Because the more you share our stuff and the more you hit those buttons, the more of this content we can make, and we'd love to keep making this content. Now, mechanically, what goes wrong with the D-Max? Well, see, the problem is I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
There's a popular opinion out there that these are one of the more reliable of all the four-wheel drive dual cab utes. Now, I'm not sure if that's just clever marketing or not, because when you look at the list of common problems, statistically, they're really no more reliable than the others. They're having ongoing problems with their turbos, and some of them are getting fixed under warranty, and some of the upgraded turbos that are supposed to fix the problem are also having issues. Now, that's all well and good while they're under warranty, but sooner or later they won't be, and the owner is going to have to foot the bill. And it's a similar story with the AC evaporators. We're seeing them fail pretty often, actually, and only a year or two out of warranty. Now, that's a big job. It takes all day, and it's about a $1,500 fix. Something else to look out for are worn body mounts. Now, this is where the body meets the chassis. Now, those mounts are failing in some cases, and in extreme cases, the body is actually cracking, and you can see cracks on the inner guards. Now, in some cases, this is getting repaired under warranty, and in some cases, people have had to make insurance claims. Now, that's okay, but if you're stuck with a bill for whatever reason, it's about $7,500 to fix it properly. And yes, they also suffer from the same DPF and EGR problems that all of the late model common rail diesels have. Your best chance to avoid that happening is not cheap out on the servicing. Use it good oil and do it on time, and absolutely fit a good quality catch can. On the GVM upgrades, look, I understand there might be a perceived necessity to do this, but you're far better off actually getting a vehicle with a higher GVM from the factory, because the 99% of the time when you don't need that GVM upgrade, the suspension is so hard, they're unbearably uncomfortable to ride in. As for the suspension and body lifts and the big wheels, look, I understand some people like that look, and that's okay. But you have to ask yourself, is the added wear and tear on all the suspension components, the driveline vibrations, the scrubbing tyres, is it really worth it? Another thing to consider is, with all those mods, what's your insurance company going to think? Look, despite what the marketing tells you, these things, like all the other late model dual cab four-wheel drive utes, they have their fair share of problems. And now I know everything I've just said seems like a lot of doom and gloom, but in reality, these utes are okay, but it's important to know that they do, like all the others, have their fair share of problems.
Is it safe? Well, according to NCAP, it's going to depend on the year, the trim, the body type, a few other factors. Everything post 2015 got a full 5-star NCAP safety rating. But for an overview of what safety tech and equipment that you can expect in the D-Max, here's me doing another voiceover, but this time I'm going to do it like in one of those 1940s or 1950s show reel styles.
Depending on the year and spec, the Isuzu D-Max can come equipped with 6 airbags, ABS, brake assist, cruise control, electronic brake force distribution, electronic stability control, traction control, seat belts with load limiters and pre-tensioners. However, the D-Max misses out on active driver aids such as forward collision warning, lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control and auto emergency braking.
For all of the details of which D-Max gets what levels of safety, just jump on ReDriven.com and check out that cheat sheet. So what's it like to drive? Well look, utes fundamentally aren't really designed to be drivers' cars, and the D-Max is it's a bit of a midfielder even when compared to other dual cab utes out there. Look, it's not as nice to drive as say a Volkswagen Amarok or a Ford Ranger, but no, it just does the job. Even after this many years and this many kilometres, it just does the job. Put your foot down and the D-Max does get pretty noisy. That engine is a rattly old beast of a thing, but it does what it's supposed to do. You put your foot down, it moves forward quickly, not that quickly, it moves forward. Even like suspension and handling wise, it still feels like a ute. Like it's kind of jiggly all the time, the steering's pretty vague, doesn't really handle all that well. It's not supposed to, it's a ute. Look, in terms of off-road ability, look, we've borrowed this off a friend of a friend, so we're hardly going to go throwing it down any serious bush tracks or doing really any off-roading in it. But look, in standard form, again, it just does the job. You know, it hasn't got a locking rear diff, and there's a few other aspects that mean other dual cab utes on the market are going to be better in standard form off-road, but again, it bloody does the job. Now look, if you're test driving one of these, make sure you do all the important usual stuff, like accelerate, make sure it accelerates smoothly, brake, make sure it brakes smoothly and brakes at all and doesn't track to one side or the other. Look for any smoke billowing out the back, listen for any like mechanical clunks or weird sounds, and this is important. Get it on some gravel or get off-road and try all of the full drive settings, especially in low range mode, and try it in forward and reverse and make sure all of that stuff works. Also, and I know we've touched on this a couple of times already, but if it's fitted with any aftermarket accessories, make sure they work. If it has a button, push the button. Does the button work? Does it activate something? Check that everything works. Look, overall, I really respect the fact that the D-Max isn't trying to be something that it isn't. It's not fast, it's not trying to be a performance ute, it's not trying to be comfortable, it's not trying to be luxurious. It's just a simple, solid work ute, and it's good at that still after this many kilometres and this many years. Driving experience? It's a ute, feels like a ute. Pricing here in Australia kicks off from around about $13,000, but for 13 grand, it's going to be, a base spec, rear-wheel drive, loads of kilometres in pretty dodgy condition. At the other end of the spectrum, and thanks to the current, inflated used car market, some people are asking around about $80,000 for top spec, mint condition, recent examples, generally, covered in fantastic accessories. Something like this, a 2015 LS with 74,000 Ks on it, low to mid 40s. And for international pricing, here's a graphic. Isuzu claim a fuel consumption figure of anywhere from 7.8 to 9 litres per 100 Ks. This particular D-Max is claimed at 8.2 litres per 100 Ks, but in reality, it's seeing 10. From May the 1st, 2019, all D-Maxes came with a 6-year, 150,000 kilometre warranty, which was upgraded from a 5-year, 130,000 kilometre warranty previously. So that means some of these still have some factory support left on them. Now the service intervals are going to vary depending on the year and the trim spec. There's a bunch of variables there. Whatever the case, whatever D-Max you're looking at, make sure it has a full and thorough service history and stick with those services. Also, if you're in the market for one of these or you own a D-Max, make sure you join an owners group. We did that to do the research on this video, and they've been fantastic with the information that they've given us. So yeah, if you're buying one, if you own one, join an owners group. Okay, so should you buy one? Well, see, the thing is, these are all pretty good, but they're all a bit shit. And I don't mean just the D-Max, I mean all 4x4 dual cab utes. The Hilux can have fuel injector woes. According to the internet, the Amarok apparently fails at off-roading. The 3.2-litre Ranger and BT50 twins can suffer from melted pistons and crook transmissions. The Triton cops plenty of criticism for bending chassis on big enough bumps, and apparently the Navara can't tow anything larger than a mountain bike. Yet, they all have owners that will fight to the death to defend their chosen steed's pride and honour. And see, the D-Max is no different. Like, there is plenty to criticise here, but it's overall a simple, solid, you know, almost old school kind of truck. And if it's been cared for thoroughly and has a full service history, should be a really reliable thing. Look, we get asked all the time, what is the best 4x4 dual cab ute on the used market? And the honest answer is, there is no best. Which dual cab ute you should buy, it's going to come down to your circumstances, your needs and your budget. But before you go diving in, do you need a 4x4 dual cab ute at all? If you genuinely do need one, look, the D-Max is an honest, no-nonsense alternative that's no better or worse than the next one. It's kind of a bit shit, but it's actually kind of good. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, what did you think of the D-Max? Let us know in those comments below. Oh, remember, can you please hit the like, subscribe and bell buttons? And if you're enjoying our content, please share our content. The more you do of all that, the more of these videos we can make, and we'd love to do that. See you next time. Okay, so this generation of the D-Max, oh, there you go. Okay, so come on. Here we go. Okay, so first up when you look at the ute, yeah, for ramp over angles, and they don't, come on, dickhead. Okay. From May the 1st, 2019, all D-Maxes came with a